Good afternoon and welcome to Titan Talk. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Today we got a reaction video. So you've got myself, Lieutenant Coop.
I got no ears.
Cat McFarland is joining us today, and then we also have our wonderful special guest,
Thank you.
Chief Leon. So thank you for joining us today. I know I kind of dragged you away from your busy day to join us for this. So we're going to be watching a reaction video. This is out of from the LAPD. This is kind of clues in me personally. I'll go over it a little bit afterwards of what I think it clues into. But this happened at the police department, one of their down at the South Harbor, I think is where it was from. So we're gonna watch this, and I'm gonna throw a little cam on so you guys can watch the reactions as it goes, and then we'll go from there. So entertain the masses.
Well, kind of start off on a somber note, but our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in Tennessee that's affected by that senseless slaughter of innocent lives, children. None of it makes sense to me. But we've reached out to our school officers and make sure that they're staying extra vigilant and aiding with faculty, families, children, stuff like that. So it's just really heartbreaking to see that stuff. It's just completely senseless. Makes me sick. On to the video, though. I haven't seen this. Neither has Mr. Leon, so our reactions are genuine, and they're probably
there's going to be some silence in this because there's no audio on the cameras for the building, and then he initially turns his body cam on, and there's no audio initially.
Gotcha.
And then audio will kick in. So we're going to cut to the video, and then we will go from there with the reaction cams. As you can see, he pulls up.
He's coming in pretty hot.
Yeah.
Blown tire already. So again, unfortunately, in the beginning of this, there is no audio, just the way it's set up.
Does he got a cowboy hat on?
It's a sun hat. Tailgate's already torn off the truck. He's messing with that.
Seems like he's a little angry. Wow. Did you say where this is, or are you allowed to?
This is LAPD.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right. I was watching Sorry, I knew that. Somebody in this room has ties to LAPD?
I do.
And our reaction cam shut off. Fantastic.
Just get his reaction then. They see my face enough. Okay, looks like... Is that his truck outside that?
That's his truck outside in the front.
This is security?
Really?
Or police?
This is police.
Oh, he is not having a good day. Oh, boy. So they weren't chasing him or anything?
No.
Okay, I was waiting for them to show up. I'm like, what's going on here? Oh, boy. Ooh. Oh, that looked like it hurt. He reached for his gun. Oh.
So this is where the audio kicks in.
You got my gun. You got my gun.
She hit?
No.
Get him.
Shot fire.
So it goes back to no audio because this camera doesn't have any. He goes running out, and you can see him turn. This is where he yells, "He's got my gun." He's taking pot shots early. He runs back out to the truck, and then he leaves.
Is there a happy ending to this one?
There is.
Okay, good.
All right, so we're gonna. That's all the video. That's they go back into the body cam from there, but it's the same footage.
Okay.
It shows his body cam when he turns it on as he's walking before he turns the audio on, and it doesn't actually show. Like, there's no audio to it or anything like that. It shows him coming through the door, very aggressive.
Yeah.
Same thing we
Scruffle.
saw on that. It's just up close and personal
Scruffle, not scruffle.
now. So during that scuffle, you can see that scuffle. Excuse me, you got me all messed up with that. You can see that they fight over the gun and everything that way. Nobody was hurt. This officer did not get shot. He did receive several stitches on his
From the
forehead
fight
area
and the
from the
pistol
fight,
whip.
from the pistol whips.
Yeah.
But as for anything else, nobody was shot. Nobody was hurt that way. They did wind up catching this individual. They pinned him. It was like 10 blocks away. They were able to catty-corner him, and he gave up.
We make. Is there more video? Or is that all?
There's more body cam, and then there's at the end it shows where they pin him and everything that
All
way.
right, but happy ending.
Yes.
Everybody's okay.
The biggest injuries there were the pistol
stitches.
whipping and the stitches.
Yeah. I bet he had some in the back of his head too. That
Yeah.
looked like it hurt.
A couple things, especially you guys know how I feel about Monday morning quarterbacking police officers. I'm not a big fan of it, even though it's done to all of us, and in our industry as well. But
It's good to learn from these things.
it is. It is. The very first thing that I thought of is yes, the guy was aggressive when he was coming in, but he was also I'm struggling for a better word here. He was just acting real goofy.
Yeah.
He was just acting real goofy, and I wonder if our officer who ended up getting his weapon taken was thinking to himself like I have a million times and thought it's a goofball, I can handle this.
Yeah.
And we can misjudge things and think I've got this under control. It's just a goofball. No matter how confident we are in our skill sets, no matter how confident we are in our level of experience and ability to deal with different situations, the problem is we're going to need help. And when that guy continuously took away his space to react, it was time to get a lot of help on the way. Yep. And it just kept going downhill from there. And then when and we teach that in the Pittsburgh Tactics class, when somebody gets you on your heels like that and gets you going backwards, it's just a bad spot to be in. And that's why we are so big on that reactionary gap, because when you do get back on your heel, you guys can see it in any fight, whether you're talking a boxing match or a UFC fight or whatever, when somebody gets you going back on your heels and you're off balance and in danger of being on your back, don't get me wrong, there's a level of people, certain people who feel very comfortable fighting from their back and very comfortable for that position, but most people don't, and most people don't have the training to fight from their back like that. I saw that knee clip that he was trying to do when the suspect was standing over the top of him. That was an old tactic that I remember my dad teaching me as a little boy. I believe he learned that from my grandfather, who was at LAPD, and it's where you hook the back of the ankle with one foot, and then you try to punch out the knee or the shin with your other foot.
Trying to push him down.
You're trying to push him down, and I saw him trying to do it. So he was thinking, he was trying to, well, what am I going to do to get out of this? It's sure what it looked like to me. I mean, it's not the best camera angle in the world, but he was trying to do some manipulation with his legs.
Yep.
But if that's me, and I'm that officer, and you guys are interviewing me after, I would probably look at you both and say, man, I just misread the motivation of a goofball.
Yeah,
and
you can see him posturing
and
him to
that's
get
it.
out, and
When
he's continuous. And I think, like you said, at that point,
When
just
he-
be like, "Hey, give me a second." Over
When he
here.
initially walks in, I'm thinking the same thing. When I first saw the video, I was like, this dude's just...
well, and then he's there, and then he's gone, then he's there, and then he's gone, and it's one of those things to where, there's a brutal video. I want to say it's down south. Same thing. Guy's acting like a goofball, and it's a young police officer who ends up losing his life. Rest his soul in this one. And the guy's doing this dance and doing this goofy dance outside of his truck. He ends up pulling a long gun out of the truck, and then he's a Vietnam veteran, and he ends up taking, offensive positions in the truck and hunting this kid down. And you can hear the kid's breathing stop.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just it's terrible. But I think same problem here. This young man pulls this guy over, who's dancing and acting goofy, and we put it in a category of goofball, and instead of actual threat.
You never know who you're dealing with.
Right.
You just never really know.
Which is why goofball, erratic, EDP, whatever,
odd.
Whatever you are
That classification.
classifying this as, get as much space and distance from them as you possibly can.
Still very dangerous.
And it can be extremely dangerous,
you
and
can
get
see
as much
even-
help as you can.
And you can see he was trying to do that as well in the video. As he comes back in the second time, he starts to create
Yeah.
that space. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough space fast.
Well,
enough.
it caused him to have to backpedal that quickly, and I
Yeah.
think he ended up more tripping over
his own
himself
feet.
than
His
getting
own feet,
knocked
yeah.
over.
Yeah.
And so
And I think that's what happened is he started backpedaling. He's like, this is getting real, and
Yeah.
he loses his footing.
it's not like we
yeah.
can just turn and run because then you put your back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
and
that-
it's funny you said that. My dad taught me the same. It was more of a wrestling move, and it's where if you're on your hands and knees and the guy's standing, you put your shoulder right below the kneecap and then
Yeah.
pull from the back, and you can knock over a 400-pound guy doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
'Cause it just displaces their weight.
Yeah, and this is one where you hook with one foot, you push back on the other, and with on the kneecap, and I think that's what he was trying to do from what I could see right there. But I would say the biggest lesson taken from that is, you get somebody in a foil helmet dancing around, rubbing peanut butter on themselves. It's
Keep that distance.
It still could be.
They're still dangerous.
It still could be somebody who's going to cause us a really, really bad day. And just because they're wearing bunny ears or a clown costume doesn't mean that we shouldn't take it seriously. And there's been a lot of bad characters out there who exhibited their. It manifests strange. It doesn't just manifest with the monster in the dark. It manifests with just goofy behavior, and
Then your guard's down,
and
too.
Your guard's down because you're thinking I'm dealing with a clown instead of dealing with a threat.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I would take from it. Again, I'm not a big fan of, I've been knocked on my back before. It's not a fun place to be.
Well, the most important thing is he's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
is she. I mean, that she just jumped right in there. And I mean, I was obviously a police station.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
That was one of their
It was like a substation.
Yeah, subdivision.
Yeah. But no, that those are good ones. That's a good video. It shows, because we can brush that off a lot of time.
Yeah.
How many reports have all of us read of? Well, I was at 31st and Prospect, and the guy was dancing around with bunny ears on and acting a goofball, and then he ran off into the night. Well, that one didn't run off into the night.
Right.
He ran after us.
And that's and I don't show these videos or do these reactions for a Monday night quarterback, because you can do that all day, every day with everything that goes out there.
Sure.
It's to understand where we can learn from this and say,
Absolutely.
hey, this is an experience that somebody went through. It's a tough scenario, and we're looking at this and where can we learn to be better?
Yeah.
Because this is a real world. This is going to happen to us. It's going to happen to somebody else, and it's a great place to look at and go, okay, here's where we stand to learn the most.
Yeah.
And that's where an officer went through probably an 8 or 9 month LAPD academy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, it just shows that people can make mistakes. He
mean,
didn't look very young either, so he's probably been a cop for a while.
You could, honestly, Josh, you could really put that same scenario with the one that you and I dealt with out here.
Yeah, in the parking lot.
Same thing. Guy
Yeah,
charged
absolutely.
at me. The guy charged at me, and I did end up on my
Yeah.
back. And the thing is I just held on to him.
I said, for those of you who
Poke
don't,
the wrong bear.
for those of you that don't know, he's referring to an incident that happened in our main office building. We had an EDP on property.
Can happen anywhere.
He
Yeah.
was on property, off property, on property, off property multiple times. And we finally got him to a point where we were pushing him off property. He was getting ready to leave, and he spun back around and looked at Leon. And you could tell the look in his face. It was just like he knew he was on.
Yeah.
it was going to happen. And he charged Leon, and grabbed him. He fell back, landed on his back, and held on to him until we could The rest of us could get him in
The
handcuffs
only
and get him
difference
detained.
between that video and our incident is I just hung on.
You hung
to him.
on.
Yeah.
Because he was the same thing. He was grabbing for everything. He was hands were going awry. I mean, it was a fight for fight.
Yeah, because he, I mean, that guy, like this one in the video, was built like a fire plug,
Yeah.
and it's just one of those things where that's the one difference from our incident and that video is I just was able to wrap him up a little bit.
Yeah, hang on, maintain the hang on.
And I also had more help right there.
Yes.
This officer, you know, God bless him, was waiting on his help to
Yes.
get there. You know, so I knew I had numbers. This officer was still waiting
for the numbers to show up.
Yeah. So I mean, he was in this fight on his own for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, I mean, I hate to say it, he shot at a police officer. He didn't get shot either. So everybody, he's getting
And so
3 hots
when I
in the
first
cot.
saw the video in the beginning portions where there's no audio and it's just that, and you can see he actually grabs the firearm. My first thought was he got hit because there's a point where he's crouched over and he's yelling out, "He's got my gun," and he's still holding himself.
Yeah.
And so I thought he got shot. It wasn't until after the fact I looked it up, and that's why I made sure at the end of it when you said nobody got hurt, I was like, nobody got shot, nobody.
Good.
Because I didn't want you guys freaking out on that.
You know, whether you're talking about what went down in Tennessee today or that video there, the mental health crisis that officers on the street are dealing with and our security officers are dealing with is just it is a beast, and
It's getting worse.
it's getting worse. And somebody who has lost all logic to where they are coming into a police department to pick a fight or to assault or kill an officer.
They are not of sound mind.
They
They're
are
just
not of sound mind. The things are not going well upstairs there.
And we
so,
say it all the time in training. We're starting behind the curve.
Absolutely. They
And
know what
even-
they want to do.
When this guy rolls into the parking lot, I mean, looking at his vehicle, you can tell there's something way off. Comes in with a blown tire, tailgate's off, he's strewing trash everywhere. And when he leaves, something I didn't show is when he leaves, more trash comes out of the back.
Yeah.
You know? And so he comes in, he knows that he's there to incite violence. He knows he's there to do something like that. These officers, bless their souls, have no idea what's going on. All they know is that this guy comes in,
That's
he's
pretty cold
disorderly,
opening there.
Yeah.
and he's distraught. That's all they know. And
Yep.
so it just like that, it takes off.
Yep, absolutely. It's just another lesson to stay away from folks as much as you can. Remember that distance gives us time to make better decisions.
And that's everybody in the comments are saying more distance and stuff like that.
Sure.
As for
good to see.
There's a comment in here that's saying should have waited for his other officers to arrive. There's no way of calling out in the middle of that. It happens so quick. They wouldn't have known until he was already fighting, and that's when I think when he
And
yelled
there
out.
could have been something, and I'm guessing this, there could have been something, because there wasn't a second officer to begin with, so there
Correct.
could have been something very subtle that we did not see, a simple radio transmission of, hey, why don't you go ahead and start this way?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to deal with this until you get here, but go ahead and start this
Very
way.
well could have happened.
Which could have happened.
Yeah. And the audio cuts in after the guy had already taken off and everything like that, was out the door the second time. So
And I would caution all of our Titan guys, go very, very easy.
Yes.
Go very easy on judging the actions of other officers and stuff, because your day's coming where you misread something. I know it
happens to everybody.
Happens to everyone. To where I've made some decisions in my head of how I was going to deal with the situation, and it did not go the way that I thought I was going to.
I've always been under the mindset when it comes to doing this for a living as security, not even not as a police officer, that if I get into a situation where there's more than one person, I'm pretty confident in being able to defend myself. But if there's a second person or if they're bigger than me,
Sure.
I'm going to call a secondary. I'm going to call
Yeah,
I'm going to call somebody.
It's not a tough guy thing to do it by yourself.
Regardless
you want to
of
have the numbers
how
on.
regardless how confident I am,
Yeah.
if they're my size, a little bit bigger than me, that doesn't matter. I'm going to call that extra help.
That's where corrections has just had it better than us, or they've just been smarter about it than us for years and years and years. You know, somebody's trashing their cell. It's not going to be one CO that's going in there. He's going to lock that door. He's going to say, "Go ahead and trash that cell." I've got a whole group of guys.
I got 12
Yeah, I
coming.
got 12 goons that are going to come in and pin you against that wall
Yeah.
until you're ready to be
Riot
nice.
gear.
Yeah, and so they have just been way more forward thinking than us as officers have been. Us as officers have always made that mistake of, I've got this.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
So
The
no, I'm glad he's
yeah,
okay.
The worst
Yeah.
interaction I ever had with somebody was she was 120 pounds.
Yeah.
She was on more drugs than that should have killed somebody the size of a Clydesdale, but
Yeah.
she somehow had tolerance to it.
Sure.
She kicked the I've told you the story. I think I've told you before. She kicked the bumper of the patrol car off after we had her under control. I mean, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I had one myself.
120 pounds soaking wet.
I had one on myself with a long time ago on Independence Avenue, and the officer at the time called for a secondary, gave a description of the guy, and I was like, the two of us can take this. This is easy.
Yeah.
I get there, and we start struggling and wrestling with the guy. Go to find out after PD shows up, sees us struggling, they help us. 3 additional cops it took to get this guy into contain.
Yeah, and we all got those stories. There was, one that comes to mind for me. It was a group of us that took a large group of us to get this guy into custody.
Yep.
And everybody's always, well, why did it take that many of you to get him in custody? Well, this guy, when we got him in the hospital, ripped his own catheter out, destroying the head of his penis. And so when you got somebody willing that's that motivated,
one person's not going to do it.
One person's not going to get the job done.
No.
Yeah, you got to take control of somebody. It's not always easy
I had
do.
to correct a client. I think it was last week who told me that our 3 officers, because they were carrying firearms, that they should have been able to get them into custody. And I said, what does carrying of a firearm have to do? You don't get to shoot them in the legs to get them into custody. And I don't know what kind of thinking you're using, but that's not the way that we are allowed to address situations. And we end up getting on the same page, but it took some time. People just think that because we wear uniforms and go try to get with your friends and try to get one's hands behind your back.
Yeah,
who's
if they don't want to go back
actively
there,
resisting.
It's not as easy.
tough.
So I recently started watching some stuff that's kind of giving me some insight onto training, and I'm not going to name the channel, but it's here on YouTube. I'll show it to you later. And they put civilians in the role of police officer.
Sure.
And they have police officers
I've
be
seen those
civilians.
situations.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them.
Kind of eye-opening for some of them.
Yeah, the best ones I've seen, they'll do city council members.
Yeah.
They'll make city council members go through fat scenarios and
Traffic stops.
And I
Well,
believe he was in that meeting. The captain was in that meeting, and there was, I think, 5 people in there. And I looked at all 5 of them, and I said, if you guys try to get me in handcuffs in here today,
Ain't going to happen.
ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. I said, maybe if you have him to help you.
Still probably not.
No.
But
I think
I'm
it'd still be a struggle.
I'm pretty motivated, and the thing is, and I said, you will not put me in handcuffs.
Yeah.
I told 2 of our administrators one time when there was some discussion of an emergency button on a radio or using a phone, and I said, if I don't want you to touch your phones, you're not
gonna
touching
get to
them.
it.
You're not going to get to them. It's just not going to happen. Now you might be able to pick it up,
But you ain't going to do much more than
but
that.
you're not going to use your phone.
Yeah.
No, I'll make sure you don't use your phone. So
with that-
you know.
Assistance.
With
Yeah.
those ones, it was nice to see that they do like an interview beforehand, and they do an interview after the incident for those
Debrief.
civilian.
And you
debrief
see a
and
light
stuff.
bulb go off.
and you can see when the civilians are in there, and one of them was just a crowd control.
Sure.
It was just hey, nobody's allowed in this house because it's an active crime scene. And then you're going to get a group of people that walk up, they want in the house, and all you've got to do is keep them from passing you.
Yeah.
And there was 3 guys that did it. 2 of them were able to maintain somewhat the line, but they become very aggressive. They've got their tasers out now, and one of them, as the guys are approaching, they're yelling, "Hey, that's my mom's house. I'm going to go check on my mom." No. And he's like, "Hey, I just need you to sit here." As they get closer, he just straight draws his gun, and he goes, "I kept yelling for them to stop, and they weren't stopping." So at that point, there's 6 of them. I'm in danger, so I drew my gun. And they're like, you understand, like, that's a no-go, right?
You can't do that.
And-
yeah.
and
that,
he was
that
like-
same guy would most likely criticize an officer for making that mistake.
What was
too.
funny
So
in-
it kind of
in-
puts you in the shoes of someone that you judge. A lot of people judge security employees all the time, like
Yeah,
you're saying.
absolutely.
And when you are put in those situations, you're like, "Ooh, I didn't really think about that."
And in the debrief, even he goes, I had thought about it and watched a couple of, interactions with law enforcement. I was like, man, that's real, harsh. And he goes, I'm still amped. He goes,
Yeah.
we're done with the scenario. It's
Yeah.
10 minutes later. And he goes, I'm still
and
pissed.
that was fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
like
and he
I'm
goes-
not
and he's like,
one for. Go ahead,
His
sorry.
exact words were, I can't understand how
Sure.
you guys go through that so
Yeah.
well and manage yourselves.
Yeah, I'm not one for mandates. I think people should be able to do what they want, but I think everybody needs to work in the restaurant industry. It'll make a lot better human beings
Yes.
out there. Not saying you have to make a career out of it, but I think you should go work a week at a
6
restaurant during
6 months.
Yeah, during the weeds, and then I think everybody should pay more attention to what these men and women who protect us, whether that's military, law enforcement, whatever, Coast Guard, I don't care.
Fire,
they need to
EMS, all of them.
understand. Yeah.
You've heard me say this is the last comment I'll make on it, but the captain's heard me say this a bunch. And, I recently, in the last year and a half, got done, instructing my youngest on how to drive. And at one point, we're at a stoplight or stop sign or whatever. I said, well, you need to be watching that that part of the intersection for A, B, and C. You need to be watching that part of that intersection for A, B, and C. You need to be watching this part of the intersection. And he just kind of slams his hands on a wheel and he goes, "There's a lot going on here, Dad." I go, "Yeah, because it can kill you."
Yeah.
Yeah, because it can kill you. And I said, things that can kill you don't come easy.
No.
There's a lot going
There's
on.
a lot
to
going
it.
on. You got to pay
Yeah,
attention
you gotta
and
pay
make sure.
attention.
And
Yeah.
absolutely. Got to be able to monitor multiple things
Good
at
choice
once.
on video, though. Good.
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's a good reminder.
For once.
Ouch.
Wow.
We're going to go that way? Okay. And you're
I've been
muted.
extra pokey today. I've been poking him
He
a lot
has.
today.
Yeah.
So, but that's it. It was a good
cool.
video. I wanted to
Yeah.
get some words of wisdom onto that and kind of just show it
You
out.
guys had a really good video with Brian on Friday.
He's always great to have on.
He's always great.
Thank you.
Brian won me over when he came into my office and I started to say something and he told me to stop talking.
Yeah.
And
Excuse me, sir, I'm talking.
Yeah.
And then went right back to talking to me, and I go,
Real quick, I just want to admit both of our faces just went.
but he won me over with that one pretty quickly. But no, that one that you guys did on Friday was very, very well done.
I think one of my favorite interactions between you and Brian is when he convinced everybody to wear plaid. And
Yeah.
you just kind of.
The thing is I don't have a problem with plaid. I have flannel and I have plaid and those things as well. It's just Brian takes it to another level where it's tucked in and fashionable and
Look, he makes it look
Yeah.
brown belt with brown shoes and matches.
his hair has been addressed.
He's a
and,
snazzy
good. I
dresser.
tell you
now.
what,
Yeah,
McFarlane keeps trying to get trying to get pointers off of him so he can dress better.
no, he's pretty
that's-
sharp.
I'm beyond hope.
Yeah.
Guess who called during the podcast?
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for joining us on this again.
It's like
Chief,
she
thank you
watches
so
it.
much.
Always.
We're going to let you guys get to it. For the rest of the week, weather-wise, it's supposed to be, I think, mid-50s. And
I think we're hovering around there.
yeah. I don't see any more rain coming this week. It is mid-60s to Friday is low 70s.
Yeah.
So we'll see how
some
that
nice
turns
looking-
out.
Yeah.
So on that note, guys, stay safe, stay hydrated, dress for the weather. We appreciate that so much for you guys joining us today. We will catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night.
Be safe.